The developed world is now spending billions every year to try and mitigate the effects of man-made climate breakdown. Climate tax? A climate tax? I'd rather burn in hell! Yet bizarrely, governments are still spending billions subsidising the very industries that are most to blame for climate breakdown, like fossil fuel exploration and the meat industry. You couldn't make this shit up. I don't think we should be in here. I really don't think we should be in here. Okay, right, let's get on with it, but really quickly, okay? Hi, I'm Angus, and you may well know me from earlier works such as Why I Don't Buy My Girlfriend Flowers and the critically derided Goldilocks and the Holocene, a tragic fable for our times. But today I'm here to talk to you about climate tax and why I believe it is the only way of reversing our slide into total and irreversible climate breakdown. Do you hear that? Shh, 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 shh. I think we should get out of it. Okay, so I think this is a good time to go over to the studio with Angus. I am not an economist, but I do know that if you cut the basic rate of income tax by 1% to please the masses, it is the masses that lose out. Basic maths, if you have £15,000 or dollars of taxable income, you've just gained £150 a year. But if you have £150,000 of taxable income, you've just gained £1,500 a year. And if you have £1 million of taxable income, you've just improved your annual wealth by 10,000. So in this scenario, the least well off will vote for time and time again. The wealth gap actually widens. The rich are getting richer, and the poor, because everything is relative, the poor are, well, they're getting poorer. The £150 is an illusion. So when it comes to climate tax and pollution tax, it is a really tricky one to sell to the masses who fail to grasp the simple maths of that a 1% drop in the basic rate of income tax is actually making them poorer. Climate breakdown is the biggest and single most important issue to face humanity in the history of, well, humanity. And if we're going to halt or reverse climate breakdown, we will need to change how we live. And that means less SUVs, less cars, including electric cars, less flying, more walking, more cycling, and more eating seasonal plant-based foods. Our current first world privilege is completely unsustainable. And look, I don't live in a complete vacuum. I talk to lots of people about this channel, and most of my friends and most of the people I talk to they're as worried as I am. But very few of them have changed their lifestyles much at all. And these are the people who actually care. So how do we get people who care and the ones that don't care to actually change how they live? A carbon tax and a pollution tax. Because without it, we are left with only a handful of people like me who are prepared to change their habits for the greater good. And it's simply not enough. We can't ponce about. We need drastic action. Climate tax? A climate tax? I'd rather burn in hell. So apart from a few, the vocal minority, the climate change deniers, most of us can see man-made climate breakdown is already beginning to hit home, not just something we see on the news that is happening somewhere else. With extreme weather events increasing, wildfires, record-breaking heat waves, floods, rising sea levels, and pollution of our rivers, seas, and oceans. And most of this is already baked in. So no matter what we do today, the next 30 years is only going to get worse before it gets better. Where are we going to find the money to hold back the tides, to fix the melting roads, to repair the damage? And how are we going to persuade people to stop driving their SUVs, to move towards a more plant-based diet, and to stop flying? Carbon and pollution tax. There is already a huge amount of data out there on the CO2 costs of almost everything. So having a CO2 tax would be relatively easy to implement quite quickly. Pollution tax would maybe not be so simple, but to my mind, just as vital. For example, Poultry has huge CO2 emissions and is also a huge polluter. The beef industry is the same, and so are cars, with car tyres found to be one of the biggest polluters on the planet. So how would a carbon tax and pollution tax work without harming the middle and low income earners? I can no longer afford to drive to work. I can no longer afford to heat my home. This we don't want. Seriously, I currently pay a premium, a fucking premium to my electricity provider to be on a green tariff. If we're going to beat this, and it is a big if, the green tariff should be subsidised and we should be paying a premium for dirty energy, not clean energy. But anyway, we can't have ordinary people, many of whom are already struggling to pay bills, having to pay more. And a solution that a lot of far more clever people than I are beginning to get behind is a climate tax, but with an immediate rebate for all, for what would be considered a reasonable amount of carbon to live. I know it sounds nuts, but what it means is that people who fly and can afford to fly 10 times a year or drive SUVs will be out of pocket, whereas ordinary folk will not be out of pocket. The wealthiest 10% of society, who disproportionately have the largest carbon footprint, will pay the most, and the poorest 50% should not be out of pocket at all. This is levelling up and levelling down in equal measure, where the wealthy take the brunt of the tax and the less wealthy have the opportunity to reduce their costs, as everyone will have the same incentive and opportunity to reduce their carbon footprint by buying items with a low carbon and pollution tax. The cost of your new Ford Moe SUV might be basic $35,000, VAT $5,258, carbon tax $20,000, pollution tax $10,000, total cost $70,258. Ooh, on second thoughts, perhaps I'll take the Nissan Leaf, or possibly the bus, or move closer to work. The cost of your meat-based burger is £1.50, carbon tax 0.75, pollution tax 0.20, total cost £2.45. Perhaps I should try the McPlant burger. If you want to have a high carbon lifestyle, pay for it. And if the tax goes right back to fighting, mitigating and adapting to climate breakdown and cleaning up the pollution of our planet, it has got to be a win-win. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think we can do to stop people abusing their first world privilege and destroying our life support system? And do you think countries could do this unilaterally? And if you've not already done so, please do take a moment to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to show me some love by getting out your Cupid's arrow and shooting the like button. And you can also share this video across any of these social media platforms. Doing all or any of these things really does help me reach a wider audience and hopefully affects positive change. Time is running out. Look, I don't think anyone is going to like this as an idea, and I fully expect this video to be widely disliked, possibly even beating the billionaires' space race and why we should all care who loses to the dislikes versus likes ratio. But quite honestly, it is the best and fairest solution to affect behavioural change that I've ever come across. Look, if you've enjoyed this video and found it useful or just weirdly compelling, you might like either this one or this one. Climate tax? The climate tax? I'd rather burn in hell!